Alright guys, welcome to day 3. Today is a very important day. If you've watched my day 1, you're gonna know that I briefly mentioned that we're gonna have a separate day for discipline. So here we are. Today is gonna be more of a practical day of applying discipline. So we're gonna structure our days together, and this is gonna be done through an app, Google Calendar. Plus, the most important thing here is I'm gonna show you what sort of mind frame you need to develop from now. The reason we're doing this on day 3 is because you need to set this early on, because this bootcamp is going to be somewhere around 30 days, and developing these mind frames from now is going to not only make sure that you're going to finish this bootcamp training successfully, but also you're going to most likely build a new habit, which is having a disciplined mind, always performing, always taking action, and not wasting time. So let's start off by saying, what is discipline? The way I look at it is it's performing regardless of how you feel. So whether you have a good day or a bad day, you're gonna put in the same amount of work, not just like your average day, but your best day. So I really hope some of you guys have felt what it feels like to get some sales. If not, it's fine, but I'll quickly break it down. If you have a $500 or $1,000 day or even more, think about it biologically. Your dopamine receptors are gonna be exploding. Okay, you're gonna be like here, then down here, here, and then down here. Why? Because in most cases, it's really hard for you to maintain $1,000 day unless you're going extremely viral. And I mean, listen, if you're making $1,000 a day, it's also gonna apply to you, because imagine you're making on average 1K a day, and then one day you just hit rock bottom, you start getting no sales. And if you're not following a disciplined stoic mindset, you're naturally gonna feel crippled and what people like to call depression. You're gonna feel depressed. So it's way better to have this equilibrium, this stoic mindset, where you're always at the base level, regardless of whether you make a big day or a small day in terms of sales. And this can be applied to anything in life, but I want to highlight this for dropshipping because we do experience these days a lot. And when I first started making a lot of sales, I have had to experience this myself, and then I had to self-analyze and then fix it. Another reason why this is really important is because what often happens at the top is that you're naturally going to work harder, I hope. Like whenever you see something working, you're going to have to double down, right? So imagine how many hours or how happy and how motivated you're going to be working on this day. So let's say you spend 16 hours working on that day because you want to try to double it down. Let's say you made 500, you want to make it 1,000, and so on. Imagine this same feeling and same day, but here. Because oftentimes what happens is on these low days, you're going to be feeling down to the point where you put 1 hour or 2 hours a day of work. But what you should be doing is spending these exact same hours on the big days as well as the small days, so that you always see success, see results. So that's the summary of this entire topic here. But back to the discipline, it's really just doing what you know has to be done, but doing it anyway. So whether it's something that you're lazy to do or something that you're fearful of doing, you need to do it anyway. And that's what discipline is. And here's the crazy part. Whenever you start, and I'm talking generally here, whenever anyone starts with something that is known to be beneficial to him or her, you're gonna often be fueled with motivation. And this is what I've noticed. So let's say I'm gonna relate to when I first started dropshipping like 3 years ago. I was very motivated. I was actually spending a lot of time researching, watching every single video out there, all the gurus, all the reels. I was motivated. I was sold to the dream, right? But then this sort of motivation went quickly. The moment I tried filming and, I went viral, didn't get sales, that's where it went down. Nowadays, reflecting, I can't remember the last time I actually felt motivated, like purely to actually work. I just put in the work anyway. It's something that I don't even think about. So the only thing which I would link to motivation is dopamine. So if you want to put dopamine here, then I could say that every weekend, for example, I do feel this dopamine of motivation because on average I get more sales during the weekend, which is fine to feel this sort of dopamine, but you need to adapt and, feel, just stay neutral in terms of emotions, regardless of whether it's a big day or a small day. But yeah, mostly when you start, you're gonna feel motivated, but then when you first face these struggles, these obstacles, naturally you're gonna feel demotivated, and that's where discipline takes place. And that's why you need to do the heavy lifting on the discipline side. And this is what's gonna take you from point A to point B in this journey. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is how to apply discipline, because a lot of people talk about discipline, but nobody actually speaks about how to apply it. And this is something which took me a while to, I basically brought puzzle pieces from different lectures, different courses, different experiences, and I'm sharing it here because this is my absolute best tip for you to be disciplined. First, you need to make a list, just like I gave you in my previous training bootcamp. I hope you did that list, by the way. If you know, you know. This list is actually going to be different. It's going to be 3 questions. So the 3 W's, okay? 1, you need to develop a why. So this is, by the way, to be disciplined. How do you become disciplined? You need to develop a why. So why are you doing this? Why are you trying to make more money, start a business, all this sort of stuff? Find a very specific and personal why. So whether it's to retire your mom, whatever it was, keep it for yourself. It has to be something really important to you and only for you. You don't need to share it with anyone, okay? Because you don't want to share it to small-minded people. One thing which you need to understand is whenever you have a big vision, you want to keep it for yourself, especially at the start, because oftentimes people would say just a little word which could actually just crush your dream. So focus on you for now. Answer the first question. And then number 2 is why not you? Another very personal question. Now this question actually provokes a different emotion than the first one. So the first one is more about who are you doing this for? What's the reason you're doing all of this for? Which is usually like the sad reason, which is gonna motivate you to put in more work. But then the second one is actually gonna provoke a different thing, which is anger. And it's actually important because this is a good energy to use to your benefit. So anger is more of a competitive emotion. So if you can generate this anger purely to fuel your actions so that you can become a better person and make something out of this, then it's good. We're not trying, by the way, I don't want you to mistake anger for envy. When I say why not you, although I've said this in the previous one, on day 1, you need to develop this villain, this competitor, which is literally you, but in a different dimension. That person is actually going to motivate you because it's not someone else, it's actually you. It's possible if you do everything you need to be doing. But this time, you can make it more personal. You could compare yourself to someone else purely for this experiment, which is to provoke some sort of anger that I see a lot of people doing well, why not me? But then the best part here is you're going to use this anger to your benefit to actually fuel your own work. And then lastly, most important question, why not now? This is a very serious question, and I want you to take this personal again, because this will hopefully change how you think about it, that whatever you're trying to postpone for the next day, there's no reason to. There's not a perfect plan, okay? Every single time I've wasted some sort of action for a better time, it didn't really make it better that I postponed it, It's always better to do it now. And that's the bottom line of taking anything from point A to point B. You need to actually be consistent. So if you want to see sales, you need to post more. You need to record, edit more. So it's all about ones and zeros. I've spoken about this previously, and it's yet another really important topic is that you need to be rational about the output. So what are you sharing to the world every day regarding your product, for example? Are you creating new content? Are you posting it every single day? How many pieces of content are you posting? So whatever tasks you got today or every day, look at them as ones and zeros. Think about it. Whenever you post something, that's a one. Okay? Whenever you record something, that's a one. However, whenever you waste time scrolling or not posting, that's a zero. So you need to stack these W's every single day. And then the harsh truth is, let's say this zero was backed up by 4 hours of filming, 2 hours of editing, but then you slept and you didn't post, that's a zero. So that's how I want you to look at everything. And although this is like a harsh way of looking at things, it's gonna make you more accountable. I literally cannot count how many days I woke up and I didn't feel very good because I know the previous day I would have worked way harder. And then I use that anger to fuel the new day countless amount of times. And I'm constantly striving for having a fulfilled day with W's, with ones. I recommend the same for you. Try to get as many things done every single day. These zeros, they're often backed off with a lot of explanations, a lot of excuses. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you either get things done or you don't. It's ones or zeros. So this is really important for you to understand, and you need to link it to this list because the list is actually going to fuel that whenever you feel demotivated or you find yourself wasting time. Remember your why. Why not you? Why not now? And then get back to work. So yeah, I hope you guys are applying this and taking notes because this is honestly like what took me. There's like puzzle pieces which I had to assemble from the past 2 years. So I'm trying to dig deep into this rabbit hole to understand how to apply discipline. And one of the ways is to have this list. And then another way, which is actually more practical, try to change your environment whenever you're trying to work. So what happens is the mind does not recognize this new location that you're working from, hence why it will not start signaling that it wants dopamine. So if you were to work from the same PC that you used to game on, you're gonna eventually have this urge of gaming. So if you were to change just to a different table or a different room, you're gonna solve this problem. So that's one. And then two, you need to remove any sort of distractions. So remove any phones. Whether you're making sales and you're waiting for the next cha-ching, just remove your phone and then just focus on what task you have to get done with. And the final point is constantly be active, remove any sort of distraction, change your environment. And if you want, you could listen to music while you work. It works for me. If it works for you, then do it as well. And with this being said, I think now is the perfect time to go to the Google Calendar and structure our day together. So let's say we wake up at 7. That's when I usually wake up. And there's going to be a quick demo to just show you what and how to set up your own schedule. I generally have my coffee right when I wake up. So within the first half an hour. And then within the same time, I go for a tan. So tan/walk 15 minutes. Let's say till 8, because I'm gonna combine this with checking my phone, notifications, replying to DMs, all sorts of things. So wake up, have coffee, and get a tan while I reply to the DMs and the emails. After that is the gym. So this generally takes an hour and a half because I need to also drive. Okay. So 9:30, somewhere around 9:30 to 9:45, I'll be home. Shower, eat. It's gonna be another 30 minutes. Alright, so realistically speaking, somewhere around 10 to 10:30, I'm gonna be free. So I'm gonna be done with the gym, with the coffee, with the emails. I'm gonna put emails on a separate one just so I make it clear. So we got the emails with the coffee. Now after 10 is generally when I start work. So I usually tend to edit. I like to post sometime in the morning and then in the evening. So I edit and post. Usually I would have some content from the night before. So I would edit and post. This shouldn't take an hour. It usually takes like 30 to 40 minutes because my product requires some longer time to edit. And then here is where you need to film, okay? So before you film, you need ideas. So generally, if I don't have new ideas, I would do some research. So I would go on my burn account. And I know a lot of people who like to start the day with a burn account to see what's going on in the space, what's going viral, and so on. So I don't want to say product research because it's very misleading. We're looking for ideas and products. So I'll say burner account research. And I wouldn't recommend more than 30 minutes. You're going to be burnt out, losing brain cells. So let's do it for 30 minutes. You could set this either in the morning if you don't want to hit the gym. But generally, I prioritize the gym. It's really important. It actually increases my frequency. I get to do more things afterwards because whatever is considered risky or, it just makes your day look easier. The philosophy behind hitting the gym first is you already conquer the gym, and then whatever obstacle you're going to face throughout the day is going to seem like a smaller obstacle because you've already conquered the morning. So that's actually the philosophy behind entrepreneurs or successful people hitting the gym in the morning. It just sets your mind for success. And yeah, so burner account research, I'll do it somewhere around this time. You could extend this even longer. Once you have ideas of what you're gonna record, what you're gonna edit, that's where you start with the product filming. And this filming, you have two options. If you're already good at filming and this format you're trying to film, by format I mean this video idea, if it's applicable to be posted on a daily basis, then I'd recommend you do bulk filming. However, trust me, although bulk filming is a very fancy word, I highly recommend you do this every single day. I personally record every day because I noticed whenever I bulk film, if my content was not perfect, then the entire week will have not perfect content. So the way you counteract that is use discipline to your advantage, be consistent every single day, film for even if it's a half an hour or 1 hour, just film because naturally you're gonna become better. With repetition, you're gonna naturally be better. So I do this every day. Sometimes I delay it till 12, depends how long it takes you to have ideas, because the idea is obviously the most important part. And and part of the product filming is actually split testing. So you wanna brainstorm ideas of how to split test either the movements. So this is part of filming, honestly, unlike the research. I'll put this somewhere here. Because you have two sorts of split testing. Either you come up with a split test idea or you do it. So for this particular circumstance, we're going to say we're split testing the edit. What do I mean by this? This means we're editing, but we are editing with some changes from what we did last time, just for the sake of testing. So let's say you went viral with a specific text and audio. Now you have filmed the same idea, okay? But then you could either split test the movements, so you try different movements, or you could split test the edit, which we're doing here is we're changing the text or the audio, this sort of stuff. And that could provide you with new insights to whether it's going to perform better or worse. And then you can keep going from there. So I always like to split test because otherwise it looks very repetitive, the content. So whatever worked in the past, try to repeat it but better, and then test more viral sounds, more viral texts, more viral hooks, and so on. So yeah, this generally takes another half an hour or 45 minutes because it's another edit right after I film. And then yeah, you have all of this time. Now here's the tricky part. If you have only one product, you have already edited and posted, and then you have another edit ready to be posted somewhere around 7 p.m. is like the peak time to post. So yeah, obviously it's gonna vary depending on what product you're running. So I'm gonna make it even more realistic. Personally, yesterday I tried to test a new movement. So usually it takes me like an hour to film, but since it was a new movement, it took me like 2 hours and a half to set up everything, the background and film. So let's say today you decided to film and you want to make sure everything's perfect, and it took 3 hours. Just for the sake of making this even more realistic for a harder product, then I would have to put it somewhere around here, and then do this here. So yeah, this way you could see it takes longer to actually see something. So you hit the gym, you get a post. I like to generally get my post before I start filming. This way I have something rolling in the back before I get my next post ready. It's just to push the algorithm. So yeah, I post, I start my research, I film, edit, and then I post it around 7 to 8. This is Dubai time. So this gap is where you need to improvise and think what needs to be done. So whether you have a new product, like a second product, third product, then you could obviously do the same thing over and over again. Or let's say you have an affiliate, you're an affiliate for someone, then you could do the same for his product, and so on. So yeah, it's up to you to decide what to spend this and this time for. I sleep around 12. So for me here is I have another product which also I'm working on. This is not gonna take as much time to film, so we're just gonna have to replicate exactly the same thing here. So I'm gonna have to do my research, and this time I would rather do actual product research on my burn account. I do this every day. I like to put my product research somewhere around when I'm least productive. So obviously after all of this, you're gonna be kind of burnt out. So might chill at this point. So might sort of chilling is actually product research. I scroll on my burn account. This way I could find new products and ideas. And you could extend this for how long you want. Let's say it's an hour. For me, 1 hour is more than enough. 30 minutes I would be burnt out from all the TikTok content. And yeah, this is where I get my idea, I film it, and then edit. Let's say it's gonna take my second product, I bulk film for it. So I do this every weekend. Let's say for the sake of this, it's gonna take 1 hour. Yeah. So now it's up to me to decide what to do during this time and this time. Probably eat. I must eat. We can put this in any gap here. But yeah, you get a solid foundation of what I do and what you need to be doing. You need to have a structure. And the best part is when you do this and then you set it to repeat every day, it's gonna give you notifications. This way, you actually have to get it done. And here's the catch. If you do not get it done, you need to postpone it for another time of the day. You need to get it done. Once we link it back to the ones and zeros, that's what it's all about. You need to make sure you actually do it. So you can postpone it, but you cannot postpone it for the next day. It has to be done on the same day. So that's the trick here. So I hope I gave you a good foundation of what you need to be doing every day. And then obviously one thing which I haven't mentioned is brainstorming. So I know some people like to brainstorm at the end of the day to prepare for the next day. You could do that, but personally, I prefer to put it during the time where I chill, I tan. So if I'm not replying to DMs, because the emails are usually before, just when I wake up, I check notifications. When I tan, I like to also brainstorm. So what's the plan for today? What's the agenda? And this way I have set the objectives for the day. Then I could do any, you know, I could change my schedule for the day and so on. So yeah, I hope I gave you like a quick foundation of what needs to be done every day. Obviously, this is gonna change from person to person and depends on the product as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today. I think I gave you a lot of sauce and I hope you actually take action from it. So I want you to, today's task, make this list, make it personal, and refer back to it whenever you face an obstacle. And this is, in my opinion, the most important mindset shift you need to have, the ones and zeros, along with the Google Calendar. So yeah, that's it for today, and see you on day 4.